I know.
Okay.
Okay, we are
Those
recording.
Great, okay.
Cynthia's not
I didn't hear from her that she wasn't coming, so maybe she'll be.
here.
like-
She was emailing me at 7:00.
Okay.
I'm gonna let you do it again, Carrie. Now, I'll do the next one, okay? There needs to be one captain in the ship.
I need a volunteer to do the meeting notes though, actually.
I'll do it.
It's too long.
You wanna arm wrestle? You wanna do it? I don't have extra paper.
Jen, you have your notebook in front of you.
Okay, Jen, you get it. And a pen.
Speak up for being
Thank you.
prepared.
Okay, so we do have somebody present for public comment. Do we wanna bring them in?
Peter is with the observer, so he may just wanna listen in.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure, we can ask him, certainly.
Peter, we have you on. Not sure if you wanted to make a public comment, but if you'd like to introduce yourself or speak with the committee, or if you're just listening.
Thanks. I'm sitting in for Peter O'Neill, and we're just listening. Thank you.
Fabulous, thank you.
Hi, Jane.
They're just in attendance.
Yes, yeah, just listening.
You got it.
Great.
Do we need to list who it is who's sitting in for that person?
No, I don't think,
I don't think so, because they're not making any comments. Anybody can attend and listen. Did everybody have a chance to look at the minutes?
yes.
Yes.
Any comments or changes or?
I sent some edits to Greg.
Yeah, I think that
Okay,
the added,
okay.
especially
Yeah.
the notes, like,
Yeah,
the people.
and thank you for jumping in to do it when you hadn't known beforehand.
Yeah.
That was
of
very
course,
nice.
yeah. But, yeah, I didn't edit it, it told me to edit it.
Yeah, you could just throw those edits in and then I can post them
Okay.
as approved, but with the edits that you all made, does somebody want to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
I wasn't at the meeting. so-
Okay. you're-
Yeah, and the things that I sent in, the list of people should include Tina and Gemma.
Okay,
Also. Just Bud was the only one who wasn't there.
yep, okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
That's
First
first.
down.
Thank you. Okay, Cynthia, do you want to give us an update on Monday's event?
Yes. And I have, I will resend this out if people haven't had it, but for people who haven't seen it, there's a couple copies of the print.
Oh, that's great.
And in terms of newspaper publicity, this is the third week in a row that the Hometown Weekly has had a short article, which was written by Amelia. And yes. So one of the things that's different this year is that after a number of attempts to find a keynote speaker, we didn't find one. And I was one of the people who said, they aren't necessarily the best part of the program. Let's go for more community involvement. And we've been extraordinarily fortunate to, with the help from people like Beth Finals, to have several students from the Black Student Union who are being involved. And with some help from Gemma, we were able to get a response from the bomb squad, the Needham's High School step dancers, so that they'll be part of the program. And every year we've been able to get the Elliott School chorus, which is 3rd to 5th grade, to perform, and they will be doing a wonderful reenactment of the Montgomery bus boycott. And there will be a number of the usual groups that that perform. So I think, here it is. So I think this will be, as usual, a good program, but we have pleaded with them to make more time for Brother Dennis so people can be involved and go up to sing. I think you were one of the people who said that it's always hard to guess how long things will take. And it's wonderful to have, in addition to Diversity Initiative and Human Rights Committee, we have the Interfaith Clergy Group, who will have two people speaking. Rabbi Todd Markley from Temple Beth Shalom and Reverend Sandra Bonnet Kim from Carter Memorial Methodist Church. And then, of course, the school department is an important part of the program. And we're delighted to have 6 folks who are going to do the work of picking up and bringing refreshments. And so there are only 2 things I wanted to ask for, other than what's already set up, and that's if anybody has plastic tablecloths with cloth backing. Amelia had provided those. I have one, and so I can always buy things, but if anybody has one, then yeah, they're old fashioned. But instead of throwing them out, you reuse them. And the other thing is, some people thought they might be there and they weren't sure. And I think if there's anybody beyond the group we have who'd be willing to be a backup, because with all of these respiratory things going around, somebody might not be the one who might not want to come and help deal with food and beverages.
Back up to pick things up, or just back up to help?
Back up to potentially pick things up, or to deliver them. Yeah. And you're gonna be doing one
I'm
already.
doing Trader Joe's already.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I can serve as a backup. I got my juice boxes in stock already, so.
And
just,
the milk.
I've been by the day before, nice and
Yeah,
fresh.
okay, so,
Yes,
so
but I'll
you-
be there and I'm gonna imagine that I feel strong, so I won't be ill that day. I'll be ready. Just will
Okay.
myself out of, yeah, make
So-
sure that's
so
in
let
the
us-
notes,
You took
please.
your emergency.
That's right.
so give us a few units of that. so
Yes,
that
that's right. Yeah, I mean,
Can be
it's
strong.
a few days away, so we'll see how we do, but
And we'll be setting up Friday evening, and I put in for, would they please find one of these carts to roll things, so that if you're bringing in coffee, it's a little easier to stick it on a cart than to carry it up the steps or go down the hall and get to the elevator.
What time do you want us there?
By 9. or so.
9.
But if you can't come till 9:15, that's okay. The coffee earlier, as soon as you're able to,
I'll be there.
because anybody who needs coffee is happy to see it early.
And I assume if we all can find them, you want us to wear our.
Oh, if you have your name tags, that'd be great, or if, I think we'll have some can fill out.
Maybe we should print up some more in case people.
I think Amelia did those, didn't she?
Uh,
She made the name tags.
There's a guy, Kevin. Oh, what is his name? Neil, who has been printing them up. So
But not the human rights ones.
I think he did them for human rights. He did one for me and Amelia that
Oh.
has both logos on it. So sweet. Because, yeah, wear a bunch of tags down the front, like you're in the military. So I can make it now. And if people, anybody who's able to come, especially with your kids, it's great. And at 9:30, we'll have great refreshments from Hazel's Bakery and Starbucks, and the juice boxes and the fruit bars, the kids love. They're gonna come early to rehearse, so they just grab a couple of those and go sit in the steps and get rehydrated and
Last
energized.
year, one of the things if anyone happens to be at the table in a nice and kind way, telling the kids, don't grab 3 or 4.
Right,
I know.
It's,
Yes,
It's hard.
it's hard.
Yeah, but this time I think we're clear
No
that
nuts.
there's no nuts in the Hazel's Bakery, so there's no nuts in anything. We
This
didn't
has
have to
nothing to do
worry.
with nuts.
No, this
Has to do with the
Leave it
number,
for some
the
other
number
people.
that they.
Don't take it all.
Leave a
Wait,
few.
Yes, we did say take one, so we'll see. And we've got some gluten-free bars, and I'm gonna get gluten-free fake Oreos.
I saw those on the list.
Yeah, see, I can hear back from the person. Oh my gosh, I forgot to call them back. Oh, well, they'll be around.
That's great. Looking forward to this. Yeah,
Yeah, and you get to be part of welcoming people, which is really fun.
that's great.
Which is interesting for those, that haven't done it before. There are people in town that say, what is the need of human rights committee? What
Oh,
do you
sure.
guys do? And it's been an opportunity to.
I just reshared it to the Needham page,
Oh, thank you.
so.
Yeah, we didn't get to do everything as most people don't, so I found that Progressive Needham sent out their events and didn't list it, so I sent something to them and Andy Watcher said, oh, I wish I'd gotten it earlier, we just sent it out. I said, well, we should have gotten it to you earlier, so. Anyway, if people think of places that you haven't seen it, just pass it on, because we can't assume just because lots of people come other years that they're gonna necessarily remember it. So. Thank you all,
Thank
and it's
Thank
just so nice to be part of the Human Rights Committee and see this happening.
Can I do some?
What did you drink tonight?
What?
What was your pet?
Oh.
But they joined after public comment, so they can just listen to the point, yeah. Immigration forum. Let's see.
And that's also on the front page.
I know, I saw that.
Yeah, that's great.
Very exciting.
Yay,
Planning is going great. I think I was wanted to get some feedback from you guys. We talked about trying to come up with some kind of resource list or something to have at the table. And then as I started to look at things, I'm not really sure like who our audience is and like what resources we want to give. Like there are lots of existing things that are like, immigrant focused. I wonder if we're gonna have more immigrant supporters in the room.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, I'm back and forth on that, but I found a couple of things on the MIRA website. MIRA is the Massachusetts Immigrant and Refugee Advocacy Coalition. They're hugely busy in this area all the time. But there was a couple of things that they had on their website that I thought might be useful. Like one of them is like a guide to like some basic immigration language.
Mhm.
I'm gonna send this around so you guys can take a look at it. I know that nobody's gonna wanna see too much paper, but these are the things that stuck out to me. There's like a one pager on the asylum process, a one pager on temporary protected status. And then this might be more in the weeds, I don't know, but it's like somebody going kind of back and forth whether or not they should apply for TPS or asylum or both. I mean, these are kind of limited pieces of immigration law, but I think that they're the most relevant to the immigration crisis that we have right now. But I wanted to know what you guys thought. Is this too much? Would you rather see a list of how to get involved? I'm not really sure.
Is Heather bringing resources?
I don't know.
Because I'd hate to have you duplicate
Right,
what she's
Yeah, I
doing.
could ask her that.
I would make sure that it's,
that's a good point.
yeah, but I was looking at the mirror list today and coming up with some of the same things. So you know that the Immigration Justice Task Force will have a table, and I'm not sure which things they will put out, but the things from the Metro West Workers Center, which is a local place that people can volunteer to, so that kind of balances. This is kind of info things, although I don't know if they had anything listed recently about, they used to have places that people could volunteer. You got trained and then you'd be at a clinic where people came in wanting to know about the steps for citizenship or whatever. That's the only other thing, if there's anything like that now.
I know I've seen a lot of advertising for people, like the bar associations are doing a lot of training to get people to learn about the company, folks. Or,
Like the PAIR project,
and Mira, I think, is also doing one.
you probably know a lot of this. Yeah.
I don't know.
The thing that's scary is seeing the current expiration date. Stimulus.
Well, Biden was just extended for 18 months. Venezuela, what did he choose?
Yeah, but what about what just happened with Maura Healy? And what's going on in the state? Is that gonna be addressed?
Regarding the housing situation or?
The
Is that what you mean?
shelters,
Yeah.
the
I don't
shelters.
know if Heather, I would guess that that's outside of her expertise.
But those are immigrants. Those aren't
Right.
all,
But that's kind of more in the housing shelter bucket.
oh,
Which is important, but that
It is
may
important,
come
but I
under
don't-
Q&A for people to.
Possibly, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know the
Right, there's a
organization,
status or, yeah, I do feel like that might, yes, it's part of that, but I feel like that's not what we've been talking to Heather about. This is great.
no,
That's not
Not
part of the
really, but it-
conversation that we've been setting up.
well, because she just came out, she just changed her
Right,
yeah.
opinion. To me, it's gonna affect. it's
Well, I mean,
huge.
also, this is 7 days after the inauguration, so we could be living in a whole different planet
That's-
by the time that
that's
this
true.
goes on.
Executive orders.
So I think what we've been doing is kind of, leaving it in Heather's court as to like what the content.
Yeah,
of
Yeah,
this
that
is.
makes
think
sense. I get it.
maybe- I mean, it is, I think, a super relevant situation right now, and, I don't know, honestly, the terms and stuff, like, what, my hopes for this event were to try to get people up to speed as to what all these statuses and terms meant, because I feel like it's really hard to have a conversation about, who should be going into our shelters and throwing around these terms with nobody really, not nobody, but there's a lot of misunderstanding about them, and there's, the anti-immigrant. I was reading the comments today, in the Globe, that was
Oh,
talking
that's always
about.
a bad
I
one.
know,
Oh,
I
I'll
know.
read the comments.
I know. I wanted to like jump out the window. It
Yeah.
was terrible. It really, really bad. And I don't know how we get people interested in learning facts.
Mm.
Yeah, some of that I think is hearing about a particular person or family situation. They go, really? Well, how could that be? And then you say, well, this is the procedure they have to go through, and they're going through a legal procedure, but they're not yet at the point of having achieved a status that's considered a long-term legal status. And we've learned a lot over the last 7 years of accompanying a family from the beginning with the, check-ins at the ICE office and everything along the way, and going to the immigration court. It's not the same as other courts, and when do you have, what are your rights if you're swept up in a raid? That was 17 years ago, the raids in New Bedford. Yeah, 2017.
I think that makes sense, so what Cynthia says about making it real, not, like, Lucinda and Alvin came from Guatemala and, they were in danger and now what they're living through. I think it helps rather than just talking about it so generally.
And she may do that.
Yeah.
I've
Have you
heard
talked to her about?
how she's presenting.
Immigration Justice Task, Karen Walker has been in touch with her, so
Okay, you guys haven't been talking to her. Okay.
they're leading the charge on that conversation.
Yeah, she does this kind of stuff all the time,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and she's been on the front line so much. I have seen her present a few times.
I've seen her too. She's good. She's really good.
Yeah, and I think she's the one, we used to have the every week on Wednesday evening, stand out at the Common, where the theme was keep families together in terms of coming over from the border. I think she spoke one time there when she'd come back from that area about her experience of visiting people in the detentions. And that's one of the things that's really kind of distressing to think about, where they're a family's been here and maybe the children are citizens and the parents' status is not totally regular, and that they could be off at work. And the kids they could be swept up and put in a detention center and who knows where. And the kids come home to school, from school, and there's no one there. So one of the things they're doing, in addition to the Know Your Rights workshops at, the,
Can't shut it.
That has to stay open.
Oh, it has to be open?
yeah, the Metro West Worker Center, is that they are also having people who can help families draw up guardianship papers and, power of attorney. It's scary, but then kids don't get just put into a general system, foster care system.
So Jen, you're asking about like,
What
is
do
this
what do
too
we
much?
want at a table and
Um,
like,
I mean, I guess part of my question is any of this gonna be totally outdated 7 days after the election?
I mean, I think the immigration language,
That's
that's
not
gonna be
gonna
the same.
change.
And I think like what TPS is won't change. I
Yeah.
don't even.
And the
think
asylum
what
process.
asylum will change.
Not that quickly.
Um,
There could be other things.
I think-
What we don't know
I
is
think it's too
enforcement.
much. There's a lot
Yeah.
there. I think it's,
Well, what we can do too is create a document in our Google Drive, and we can just give people a QR code. So we can update it that day, even the information that's in there, we can say, you know, scan here to go to our page with more, and we can have links to all this stuff.
I thought you might say that.
So you have
It's so
a,
much easier than like a gazillion handouts.
Yeah.
I know, it's just not very good at it. Like,
But how
yeah,
about-
you're sitting at a table.
And that'll take me 2 seconds, so.
how about a
I'm happy to
few,
do that.
handouts and the list? And then people can kind of see what they look like.
And the other thing possibly is just having a poster of each of the handouts, so that people could just, if they're
See, yeah,
coming by and see it.
that's a good idea.
And Jen, is the goal to, to make resources available for people who want to be of service and who also need service? Like, is the idea that
I mean,
because you don't
think
know who's gonna show up,
Yeah.
right? Because that's why I think like, especially when it comes to those who may need service, a digital version, at least we could put like a language translator or something built it, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes so much is lost in,
Yeah.
you know, if English isn't their native language, their first, primary language, then having it be whatever that is, possibly would be important too. So if we do it through one line, we can definitely make that happen, I think, right?
And I'm sure that the Immigration Justice Task Force will put information about their meetings, because their next meeting, they always have a presentation at the beginning. The next one is gonna be a presentation of Know Your Rights for Allies. And that's the kind of thing that might be, if people wanted to have in person or maybe on Zoom experience.
Do we have brochures, stuff? Paper brochures? I'm trying to figure what we can put on the table. Yes, is that the recent, most recent?
Were they left over?
I
from
have some,
The Harvest Fair?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I have the newest ones that with the QR code for the discrimination.
Oh.
great.
Great.
Is Gemma gonna be able to come?
Yeah.
Can she bring it?
And this has the list of the different protected areas, and it includes citizenship, which people were asking about, I think, last time.
Have we helped you, Jen?
I think so.
I wasn't
so.
sure.
So question, so if this would be for someone that needs it?
I mean, that's the
We
kind
don't
of
know.
it.
We don't know who's
really
gonna
know.
show up.
Yeah, because if someone needs it, would they already have applied for this to get into the country? I mean, it sounds like if you're getting asylum or TPS, that this
Yes.
is something you'd be familiar with when you entered. And I'm guessing that at that point, I just need some lawyer to help me. Or somebody like that, you know what I mean?
I
need
think
to
it's a
step in
little
that
bit of both.
direction.
I think sometimes people
Would I
do
be-
come in knowing about it and sometimes they
Yeah.
don't.
Are they
So-
able to enter, like in this, because I just read through that and some stuff I knew, some stuff I didn't, I thought it was very interesting, to learn the process, especially TPS and those dates were interesting. So for allies, that's great, but if I'm coming here for that, it sounds like from the asylum, I have to go to the border and I get rejected or accepted based on that.
More-
Sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Or if you get put in removal proceedings, you can raise asylum as a defense to it.
yeah,
Yeah, and there's the expedited one, and there's, I sat in on a meeting with somebody who had they'd had a quick hearing at the border, and they were allowed to
Okay.
come to the area, and the idea is that they could petition to have a longer time that they could present their case. They were turned down on that first one,
okay,
and there aren't enough lawyers to help people, so this person, this is a Metro West Worker Center,
yeah,
was, got some help from them. And we were allowed to sit and listen to her present her case
yeah,
to the judge. And at the end, he granted her the ability to start in the asylum process rather than to immediately be deported. So
Okay.
that's, and I didn't know about that. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
just
yeah.
so many, and it's
So how do they get to- I
incredibly
guess-
complicated.
I'm just curious, like for this seems like, the information, if I knew nothing, I would be collecting at first. And I'm guessing there's like a second step, you know, where it's like, okay, I understand these basics, but now I need somebody to help me.
Mhm. And there aren't enough of
And like,
those.
where's that link to, you know, to get to that person, I guess, or the phone number or anywhere. I feel like if I was in that case, that's how I would feel like.
Yeah.
Okay, now I got this now. Now what?
But I would assume it's mostly allies or people
Yeah.
just seeking information.
And yeah, if I think if it's an allies, it's fantastic, because then you're like collecting this
I mean, I
base
think when we
information.
could-
too.
Put on this link that we're gonna create, you know, if you are looking for immigration
Hmm.
help for yourself, you know, here.
Here.
Or for someone else, and
Yeah.
it's possible that somebody knows
Yes.
somebody
True,
and
true,
they wanna
right.
help that
They have
person.
somebody
So
at their
then-
work or,
Or,
Yeah.
yeah,
yes.
That's, I guess, the next question. If this is for allies to help, then is there a link that says, want to help? Click here. Or, you
that's
know,
what I was saying from,
Yeah.
sometimes Mira has workshops that they train
Yeah.
people and then you sit at a clinic
Yeah,
and help them.
okay, yeah,
They did that a few times at the Metro West Worker Center
yeah,
of training people to help people with their asylum cases with the part where they were doing research on what was going on in their country. That's the background of why it's dangerous to go back. So hopefully, the Immigration Justice Task Force will find some of those. And we did talk on, this was Monday evening, about who might come to things, like somebody had raised last time here, why don't we do a know your rights thing for people in Needham?
Mm,
That it's only safe to do it if it's in connection with the community. For instance, doing it before or after a worship service that people are at, so that they're not all coming into a place and, oh, right, you know, here's, let's collect the information. So that it's probably unlikely it would work here. The other way is connecting with employers.
Mm.
And we did some of that 8 years ago. And with know your rights things, saying to employers, here's something that you could share with your employees, not saying that they have people who are employed who don't have their papers, but people who are part of families or community. So that's a way of doing it, that you're not focusing on people and possibly endangering them.
okay,
I mean, if you just look at our flyer, you know, which is great, but it's in English, it's a bazillion words, like, there's probably not, it's probably not super likely that we're gonna have a lot of,
English is a second language.
yeah, people
Yeah.
coming in. I mean, even the title of it, it's not like, you know, come learn about how to apply for asylum or
Right,
something. It's
yeah,
pretty.
There's a small card,
yeah.
there's a small card for know your rights. It's in Creole, Spanish, Portuguese. Those are the languages most. And there's, we were given a link to, there's like a cartoon representation of the basic steps, the basic parts of know your rights. And I
Mhm.
think that's in different languages. So I don't know what part we could play. That might be something to ask Heather, a suburban group of allies, you know, what kind of things can we do?
yeah, like as an ally, what can I do? If I read this, I'm like,
Right.
I want to help, I'm on board. But what do I do?
I mean, I think that there's quite a few organizations in Massachusetts that are, like, that's what they do, is to try to help
Yeah.
engage people in it. And I think we can link to
So that's
those
the,
folks.
Yeah.
the focus is to get from there, these, to those organizations.
I think that, to me, I don't know what you think, I feel like that the point of this is to get information out into our community.
Yeah, to
and
educate.
Okay,
people
okay,
about what's
educate
going
people.
on,
Okay,
you know,
yeah.
and then I think that we were hoping that if we had the tables in the back, that like people who were feeling, you know, energized by
Yeah,
the
I-
topic had a place to start to think about, you know, who in town is also caring about this and we're.
Yeah, I think a lot of people care about it, and I think a lot of people want to do stuff, and I think even a lot of people is like, you know, lawyers as a profession, willing to donate time potentially, but you know, everything just has to be easy, I guess, basically, you have like a million things going on, and if it's not an easy, quick link,
Yeah,
no
right.
one's, they're gonna lose the thought.
That sounded good,
And
but
then- And you move, they're like, I'm not gonna put in 3 hours to figure this out, so.
Right, right.
But if you
right.
tell me, hey, click this link, send your name, and someone calls me, and then they say, hey, I need your help, you wanna show up next week, or, you know, you can
And
do
then
this.
they say, can it be on Zoom?
Yeah, they might,
Yeah.
but they might not, who knows?
the group that met on Fridays, on Wednesdays on the common, when it got cold and we met inside, they had people do postcards they had the names of the people in the stage lunch. And one was about the driver's license, which now has happened, and that's an enormous thing, that you don't have to prove that what your status is.
Oh, when we used to meet on the common and then met at Georgina's house
Yeah.
sometimes, oh, okay.
Yeah,
But
and
if you're coming out of prison, you can't get an ID in the state, which is just.
Really?
Mhm.
Insane.
Yeah, and the other one was about the Safe Communities Act, which has not been passed. But I think people I can't remember if it was here or the Immigration Justice Task Force they were asking, well, what's the position of the Needham Police Department about detaining people who wouldn't otherwise be detained, who don't have all of their papers. And I remember hearing a response once before, but I don't know if because people may be raising this more.
We haven't been talking about it. And I'm not gonna weigh in on that, let the chief weigh in on that.
Yeah, what he said some years ago was their policy was not to do that, but they weren't gonna put it in writing because they wanted flexibility, because sometimes there were individuals who should be apprehended or detained. And that if you have too strict a policy, your hands are tied for being able to do.
We're not
those work.
going out and looking for people.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say.
So the Immigration Justice Task Force is looking at the possibility of proposing that the town become a welcoming community. That's not the same as sanctuary, and different towns have done it in different ways. So that's something that I think should then be brought also to the Human Rights Committee to see if we want to join in that.
Yeah, I guess last thing I'd just say is like, even for me, when I go to that, I get like this urge to want to do something, but I often find that
That's how you're sitting here.
I often find like, I'm not sure what to do. Like, I'm not sure what I can do or how to participate. I found this a huge struggle trying to like work at the Pine Street Inn
Oh, boy.
in Boston, because I lived next to it before. And I would call them and they're like,
Well, the issue there, we've done it for years at Christmas and.
Yeah.
holidays, There are huge numbers of people
yeah,
that want to do it and what they.
Everyone wants to do it around the holidays.
Everyone wants to do it around the house, but what they've tried to do is bring, new people in rather than having the same people do it all the time, because someone
Yeah.
like you, that
Yeah.
wanted an experience, they're trying to.
it was very hard. But then
Yeah.
when I called them, they're like, okay, it's not just like you volunteer, you gotta sign up for training. And
Of course,
the
yeah.
training's not for like 6 months or something.
Oh.
And then I was like, oh, geez, that far away. And then there's a whole, there are other trainings before, but they're all full. And, there's a whole process to it. I found it was tough. But anyways, that was clear but a lot of the times, I think you know what I mean. Like, I'm just curious how to help and And in this case, you're like, oh, yeah, what can I do?
Right.
You know?
Maybe we could break up this link that we're sending people to, like where to go to learn more and where to go if you wanna.
Yeah, just something just to know.
Take
you
action
know.
or something.
Yeah, take action,
Ways to get
yeah.
involved.
Yeah, and for instance, another thing from Metro West Worker Centers, and they did have a training for this, to become accompaniers. So people needed a ride to go to court and somebody to hang out with them, or I'm thinking of the family that we have been accompanying, to bring them to a medical appointment. And you hang out there and they say, oh, we don't have you on the list or whatever. And you said, excuse me, you know, I'm the white person who speaks English. They were told by Dr. So-and-so to come here, and they look up and say, oh, yes, they're, so the whole standing with someone kind of thing.
Yeah. that's
And a
very-
lot of us went through training about that. So I don't know where they're at because there's so many emergency things right now.
Mm.
So that may be true for a lot of the places, sadly. They want you.
I think a lot of people want to help and do stuff. Good stuff.
Should be fine. Keep any information on what's normal anyway, or just.
Yeah, so it would be, just to reiterate, it's a program, it's a film series focusing on disabilities. It's geared towards high schoolers and adults. What is normal anyway? It's running from January to April, 6:30 PM of the showings at Newman. So the first one was January 8th, which I had a conflict, February 11th. So the January 8th one was the ride ahead. February 11th is in a different key, which is focusing on autism. So they have, they show the film and then have a discussion after with, different stakeholders in town, people with disabilities. They have a panel.
Sounds
And,
great.
yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, the prior meeting, the trailers look awesome. I love that this is something that's,
Yeah.
that this was brought to the community by NCE and NEF. So if you're
Well, it's
free,
CPAC, really.
yes,
CPAC,
yeah, that's right, I think, yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a few different
But
groups.
then I
that are
got
involved.
funding from.
Well, that's right, yes, exactly. But, so February 11th at 6:30 is the next showing. And the registration is free, which is great. So if anybody is interested and has that date open in their calendar, be great to go. I'm trying to find a date that works for the next couple films that are coming up, because they look like they'll be really an important thing to see. And especially, I think it'd be nice to go out and see them with people. Instead of just kind of catching them after they premiere out there, so.
Keith, one of the other dates?
Yeah, so it's February 11th is in a different key for the autism one. March 12th is the right to read. And April 13th is the disruptors.
April 3rd.
Oh, thanks, mate. Stop wearing glasses, my eyes are failing me. April 3rd, thanks, Gary.
I'm looking at.
Yes, well, believe it or not, so was I. Which is really, we put to put it further away and pull it closer. I used to have better than perfect vision, not so much anymore. I'm staring at screens too long. Yeah, so anyways, I think it's a great series and I hope some of us can attend one of these. It'd be nice if we could attend together, so if anybody finds a date that works, maybe let the rest of the committee know and we'll see if we can team up and watch it together, so it's great. Thanks.
You're up
Oh,
again.
this is me again.
You're up
This is
again.
So also, Story Starters is, let me just pull it up here. I had a little blurb that was easy to say than just stumbling through something here. Yeah, it's a family conversations program being hosted in Needham for families of children ages 3 through 8, designed to help families have healthy conversations with their kids about race and racism. So important, using picture books as tools. There is a cost, though I know that they have,
Like scholarship thing.
yeah, they have scholarships available. I think the cost is $125 with the ability to request a scholarship. And I know they give them a bundle of 6 books, they give some parent guides. Your 4 curated book lists, 2 family events and 2 parent workshops. So you do get a whole chunk of things. The program starts January 26th and runs through March 23rd. And even though I think the registration tentatively was supposed to stop last week, they said that we can still register through the weekend. So if you go to story-starters.org/program, that's the website.
And it's at First Parish Church here in
That's
the
right,
center of
yes,
town.
thank you, Cynthia, exactly, yep. It's Sunday, January 26th, 3 to 4:30 is the first program, so.
And I'm sorry, Keith, when is it then?
It goes through March 23rd. I'm looking at this correctly. Yeah,
Yeah.
March 23rd. Yeah, so they have program launch, couple online parent workshops, and then another in-person event. I know that they do good work. I have been trying to catch, just had a lot of conflicts with these
Yeah.
dates,
And
unfortunately.
people who were at the diversity summit, the leader of that group presented, and those of us in the audience had a chance in small groups to use that approach and read stories and talk about it.
It's nice when their minds are open, and these are the times they have these conversations.
Sure.
Despite what some people say they are, I think it's important to discuss these kind of things with kids. So,
I hope they've reached out to the preschools in town.
I mean, I know that, I mean,
think so.
Story Starters, I know, yeah, they have a good reputation in town and they've been trying to get the word out. So I think, the extension of the deadline to sign up, probably hard to get people to sign up for things through the holidays.
Right.
So they probably still have room, so.
And
If anyone's
nobody
interested.
wants to go out in the winter.
Yeah, exactly.
Including me.
That's right.
Actually, if I'm dressed red, it's okay.
That leads us to Cynthia, community conversation on race.
Okay, to remind people that, oh, I had this right here, yes. Going back to the year before, when the Chinese Friends of Needham came to us and to other groups with a concern about bullying incidents that were happening in school that they felt were not well handled, and then we got involved, and eventually what came out of it is 2 groups. One was going to work with them on reviewing the policies and procedures for dealing with bullying, and I think Tina was involved with that. And then the other had to do with, because this isn't just a kid problem in school, this is a community problem that people are carrying attitudes and how to respond to things, right? So the second group that was formed, actually, we initiated it in the town, in the person of Katie King, our deputy town manager. I keep wanting to say assistant, but I think it's good. And that way, it's not, doesn't have to fall under the open meeting law of publishing things the way our meetings do. So Amelia and I were volunteered or appointed by this group to represent the Human Rights Committee, and we worked with Katie on constituting a group that was somewhat representative, but not trying to be the Needham Resilience Network with 30 people, but keeping it small enough to plan. So the first event that happened was in June, where in coordination with Beth Pinos and Joanne Allen Willoughby, who were both members of the planning group, that they got students who've been part of Courageous Conversations on Race to present the work, along with help from Joanne Allen Willoughby, to a group of adults. And some folks were there. It was a very wonderfully done and quite a diverse group that attended. So we had several meetings after that to figure out where we would go next. And some people wanted to focus on housing, and we thought that was important, but that it could be done by other groups in town, which it has been and is. There was
ongoing.
there was a meeting on the history of discrimination in housing that we were one of the co-sponsors of. So the focus now is on designing, I think we said at least 2 meetings. And the title of this is Community Conversations on Race. And essentially, the ask for this right now is since Amelia has stepped down from being a member of the Human Rights Committee, she also said she doesn't have time to be part of this group. So there's room for a second person from the Human Rights Committee. And I brought that to the co-chairs. And that's then probably want the whole group to weigh in on that. And Carrie said she might be willing to do it. It should be terrific.
Yes, I did.
A second.
You need two more? You need two more?
No, I'm still continuing. I might be willing to give somebody else a
Okay.
place. I'm not looking hard at anybody, but this group can bring in any other people as part of the process too. The other people who are on it include Dan Kudikans from the school system, along with Beth Connells and Joanne Allen Willoughby, Ying Fei, who is from the Chinese Friends of Needham, Renaz Mala, who's part of lots of things and is a resident of town.
I was on
We
the
also-
Human Rights Committee for a very short time,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Raman, who is in the Needham Diversity Initiative and other groups, including Needham Resilience Network, and Reverend Sandra Bonnet Kim, who's co-president of the Needham Interfaith Clergy Association, and is herself a person who's experienced as a, she's from Korea, has experienced firsthand the kind of discrimination and issues that I think we had heard from of the Chinese Friends of Needham. So that's, and then Kevin Keene as representative from the select board. So that's the group that's been working together, and it doesn't include all the people we want to have part of the process, such as the police department and Needham Community Council. So when a program is planned, then there's reaching out to all of those groups.
Great.
So do we need a formal vote or just a yay,
Oh,
Carrie?
do we?
No.
I don't think we do,
No.
no.
Yay,
Carrie. We can have a yay, Carrie.
And that Tina is willing to be available, I think, to consult or be part of things.
Yes.
So where is it? Where are you guys now?
It's Zoom, meets on Zoom.
Now, where are you in the planning process?
Oh,
Like,
For the next one.
when is the next one?
I think that's going to be January 30th. And I think I may have sent you and Carrie and Keith, it's Gary Bailey is their consultant, who's the person who
So
works
great,
with the Real Coalition.
so good.
And he's put together an outline for the 2 sessions of the program. So we'll essentially be going over that. And one of the hopes, and this is going to be always hard to do, this kind of thing, as you're talking about conversations about race, that we don't want to just have another time where people talk about their experiences of discrimination. And then people say, oh, that's too bad, goodbye. And then they go on with their life. How can we have this be an impactful thing for people who are not experiencing that, but who are part of the majority group that is generally the ones responsible? That's a big ask, but that was what came out of some of the conversations, trying to look at not just redoing things that have been done before.
When are they gonna start publicizing it?
Well, we have to decide on whether this is what, the group hasn't been together since June. So the group has to look at this plan and say, yes, this is the thing we want to do. or not.
January 30th, that's in 2 weeks, isn't, it's
That's
2
the
weeks.
planning.
That's the
That's the
planning
planning meeting. That's not, I'm sorry, that's
Okay.
not the event. That's the time,
I thought the same thing. I was
Okay.
like, wait a second.
yeah,
Okay,
because
good.
the town leaders have been unexpectedly busy about
Fine.
various things.
Okay, that's great.
So it'll be hopefully sometime in the spring.
So Cynthia, the plan that you guys are looking at now is to have a 2-session event.
But this is community conversations on race. It's just a beginning. It isn't necessarily saying that how many we're supposed to have and then you're done. We'll see. But I think it is a good group. When we've had meetings, it seemed like we had a variety of voices that were bringing issues up, and we're very, very thankful to have the school system involved, because they're constantly doing things and coming up with new programs. And a lot of times people in the community don't have any idea of what they're doing, and that we can benefit from their experience and wisdom.
Great.
Thank you, Carrie,
Thank you.
and others.
Do we have any update from our police department?
So I have nothing to report on, but I will follow up with the chief on immigration and report back to everyone next month.
Yeah, because that's one of the things people were asking.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
great,
no
thank you.
worries.
Yeah, thank you.
Any update from the town?
Not this month.
Thank you for updating things on the website.
Yeah, I finally got to that today, so.
Oh, great.
Slowly but surely, there are more updates to come, but yes, I'm slowly getting to updating the website.
So of the members of the committee, but there's one person who never appeared.
Yes, and followed up with the office of the town manager as well as the town clerk's office to see
Wow.
next steps on that individual, because I want to confirm whether they were sworn in, and to my knowledge, they have not attended any meetings. So I want to see next step for filling that vacancy, but you do have one vacancy. I was saying before the meeting, the procedure is that they'll have a short 10-minute or less interview with Heidi from the select board,
Mhm.
and then it will likely go to one of the select board meetings in February to potentially appoint a new committee member.
And what was her last name? Because she was
Marie Shapiro,
Shapiro, because we need to have that in the minutes.
I sent it to,
Yeah, oh,
Right.
but I'm trying to remember.
okay.
So there's only one vacancy because Amelia dropped off, because that other person hasn't been totally, who, the name of the person who didn't actually come has to go through a process to be removed to say that there's another opening.
Yes, yep,
Okay,
I want
got
to
it.
confirm the correct process.
And the
with
other is
town
the
clerk.
other student who never comes.
Well, she's come several times.
One
Lulu.
time.
No, more than one. Lulu Wang. I remember 2 times, because she came last time and there was another time.
Okay.
The next thing I wanted to ask is, can we, for the minutes for this month, list at the end these dates that we're gonna be having for the rest of the year?
Absolutely, yeah,
And,
yeah.
so I think we decided on February 13th, because the 3rd week is vacation week.
Yeah.
That's the 2nd week, and I volunteered to be recorder. I want to make sure we all have the right date for that.
February 13th is the next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do we get agendas and minutes on there? Because what's on there now is from a long, long time ago.
I have stuff that I have to get to Taylor.
Yep, we talked about it before the meeting, about a process we're gonna put in place
Oh,
to
so, yeah, because
to
when we
get
had,
the approved
we've all been so
agendas and
busy.
meetings. Yep, absolutely. So we'll do some updates on there.
I have a question.
Should be coming soon.
I'm
Thank
out
you.
of town on
Yeah.
the 13th, but if I'm able to be remote,
Mhm.
can I mean, I assume I can participate.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You just bring it.
Yeah,
This is
I'll see
Zoom.
what-
We have
Yeah.
Zoom.
You just have to ask for the link, I
Yeah.
think.
Right,
And then.
Yeah,
we'll
Yeah,
play
the
on.
link's
Okay.
always posted,
Yeah.
because it's publicly available, so you can
Okay.
find it on the website
And
at
then we
least
can
48
play on.
hours in
And she'll play
advance.
Can I make 2 announcements?
We have. Yeah, we're in the other section. so
Okay,
yeah.
so I had sent you all a notice about a play reading. It's gonna be on February 2nd here at Powers Hall. It's called If the Walls Could Talk, and it's being done in conjunction with Needham Community Theater and the Diversity Initiative. And it's telling the story of Mystery Manor and the founder of the National Negro Opera Company. It sounded really interesting. All the players in it are African Americans. And I think I wrote a disclaimer. My son-in-law is producing it
Oh,
because
that's
he's
super
really
He's the one we saw in play.
Right, he was in
Yes,
the
he's
cruise,
fantastic,
he's in, yeah, he's been part of NCT since he was born, it seems like. Anyway, it's free and it's February 2nd at 7, and I think it's gonna be really great.
Is it gonna be in town? Where is it?
Be
Upstairs,
Upstairs,
okay.
yeah,
And that's a Sunday?
yeah, it's a Sunday, so, I don't know if you can put it on our page too, Carrie, and send it out. I'm planning to go. and,
Did you send something to us?
Yeah, I did, I sent it to everybody, I sent it to everybody. And then the other is, I'm just gonna plea again, because I really need to have as many people as I can. I sent you a doodle poll. I had to unfortunately cancel the meeting this past week. We do not want to get the norovirus. Oh my God. It is,
Yeah.
is that what you had, Jen, too?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
Let's not talk about.
I don't know
Yeah.
for sure, but just stay
Too
away.
soon.
Wash your hands, that's all I can tell you. So
Stay away from.
the dates that are looking, like we have a couple people are January 28th or 29th. If you could complete the doodle poll. I have to have this done by the end of the month. I mean, the NRN is really business time, I guess, based on what I heard the last time. And this is really research-based, and we want to know how people feel about mental health, what they know, what they think, and so there'll be a whole report about mental health in Needham. So I would really love to have as many of you come as possible. I know that's the same week as the immigration thing is on Monday, but I didn't have a choice.
And you're doing it at 6 o'clock.
I'm gonna do it at 6 o'clock and you'll have dinner, so don't worry about dinner.
You mean
And
you're doing dinner?
well, I'm probably gonna get pizza. I don't know.
That's terrific.
Yeah, so there'll
So I
be
was
dinner.
trying to figure out.
Yeah, 6 or 7:30, there'll be dinner. In fact, we had a talk when we met last week and he said, well, some people are saying, well, how are we gonna do this? Do we have people eat first? Do we put it out on the table? It's gonna be too noisy because these sessions are gonna be recorded anonymously, so no names will be used. So there was this whole funny conversation about, well, people are making noise with their food. It's gonna, and
Chew carefully.
the thing that was really interesting that I had never thought about, so there are people who, English is not their first language, and they're representing groups where a lot of people English isn't, and they said audio recordings don't pick up the language correctly.
Yep.
And I had no idea.
Yeah.
Just, isn't that, I mean,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
another way that people are sort of discriminated
Yeah.
against. I had no
I didn't
idea.
know that either.
I didn't know it, and so, yeah, it was really very surprising, so anyway, please, I would love to see you. and learn
Is this only Needham Human Rights Committee folks are gonna be in this particular?
At my house, everybody, each liaison group will be doing their own thing, so.
We just did it at the police department.
You
Oh,
just-
excellent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh, Chris,
Chris.
is
Yeah.
on the committee.
And then there were 8 of us, so he just facilitated the questions, and then we, it was, at first he was going to go around to each person, and I was like, that's kind of really putting everyone on the
Oh, yeah,
spot.
that's not,
So I said, how about just kind of a nice conversation and we don't talk over each other, and it worked fabulously.
Yeah.
That's great.
yeah, and Raman's doing it for the Clergy Association, but I haven't seen anything come out yet.
he wasn't on at the last meeting, he was traveling for work, so.
Yeah.
What did you do with the pizza?
We didn't have pizza.
You mean John didn't come up with popcorn?
John wasn't there.
Oh.
No, he was out that day, but,
So I
but
actually
no,
wrote
it was
to
a
Jen
great
today to see,
conversation.
because she was gonna
Well,
come.
you're in the middle of that all the
So she
time.
didn't do the doodle
All
poll,
of us.
maybe you could.
Yeah.
I
Not
I
just
know-
you, I meant. all.
Yeah.
I
But you
emailed her, because I don't have her phone to text her, and I know kids don't email.
Right.
Whatever I want, if I send something by email,
Totally right.
I send a text and say, please check your email.
Right.
Yeah. I know adults that way too.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just add a couple little quick things? I know that we received a email in celebration of Black History Month in February. There's a program that the library is putting on.
Yeah, right.
Right, Ted Landsmark,
Oh,
to speak February 9th
looks
at
great.
the Needham Library. Racism in Boston, how far have we come? That's, I don't know, it's a good question. I'd like to hear the answer, and I think I know that Dr. Landsmark
What's
is,
his name? Sorry.
yeah, Dr. Ted Landsmark. Yeah, it's at February 9th. at the Needham Library. Yeah,
In case we
racism in
don't-
Boston. How
We're gonna really have lots of good things to
Lots of
do.
things to discuss.
Yeah, I already-
Yes, it is.
I
Yeah,
already signed up
exactly.
for it.
Yep, near the Needham Library. And,
Booker's
Yep.
is coming.
2:30 in the afternoon.
yeah, 2:00
That's
actually.
the
o'clock?
number
Yeah, I
for
think that's right,
Sunday.
Bud.
Oh,
2
yeah.
to 3:30.
It's a Sunday.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I had it down for the wrong time.
Yeah,
Oh,
Friends of the Needham Public Library in the library's community room at 1139 Highland Ave.
11:30? Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, 1139 Highland Ave's the address, 2 to 3:30, Sunday,
Oh,
February
two.
9th. And it's a question and answer period will follow the presentation, and you can get, so it says registration is required, I think it's free.
It's free.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
go to
Friends of the Library.
needhamlibrary.org/events for more information. Yeah, and it looks like a program definitely worthwhile checking out. And
Is it hybrid?
No, I don't think so.
And
It's
the
like-
people that morning have nothing to do, there's the winter walk and homelessness in Boston.
And you can also support it if you're not walking on it. Are you going on it?
Yeah, you supported me last year, I appreciate it.
Oh, I don't even remember. But people who walk in the winter,
Yeah,
Is there more kids?
Yeah, something else. I mean, I think that I'd like to start, Taylor offered some great news the last meeting or two ago about potentially having a budget for the HRC. And so I know there's a lot of, there's many years of experience on the Human Rights Committee in this room. So if anybody has any ideas of things that they would like to have spent some money on in the past that has always kind of nudged them, feel free to send us a message, because I'm gonna really work with Taylor to see if we can't like check a few things off the list and at least prepare to bring a budget request forward, depending on what's in the bank right now and going from there. And then something else, just, I think I mentioned it at a couple meetings ago, but if we could just put some thought into potentially, I'm gonna say it softly, switching our meeting days to Tuesday. I know that's
Oh.
not great, but just put it out there, check your calendars. If there's another day that might work, I'm finding that Wednesdays and Thursdays for me are constantly a
We were gonna
disaster.
send out a,
Oh, a doodle poll, yeah, okay, so be prepared, there'll be something like that coming out.
but
So-
would it be for this year?
That's a great question, Cynthia. No, I mean, I'm
I'm
throwing it
trying
out
to-
there very softly because it's not a nice thing to change meeting days when you're still relatively new to a committee. I know that.
Right.
But I'm
it's
putting it out
always-
there
It's always
because-
in Thursday, and it's even on the website. When-
That's
When new
right.
people join, we have to say, are you available on Thursday?
That's right. And some people
Yeah.
like me are just like, yes, and then they're like, oh wait, Thursdays are a disaster, but
If
but-
we changed it for the following year.
yes.
You know, because well, probably for a lot of people, have all these other groups. in mind.
Absolutely. And I don't
So
wanna,
we'll get people's availability, and one of
We'll
the
go from
options
there.
will be keep it the same. so-
exactly
so
right. Yes,
everybody-
just putting it out there
Yes.
where I feel like we're on a human rights committee, so we can talk about everything. Like, in a
Yeah,
different
we don't
conversation.
mind.
Of course.
That's right. Yes, this is a
Even
safe
something
space.
that-
If this can't be asked here, we're gonna be asked.
Yeah,
And I know that housing has been a big thing this week.
So I think I can.
Can we talk?
Say this without getting into trouble.
Yeah, I think we can
Yes.
talk now.
Um. Okay, so housing, right? I think that, sort of if you've been paying attention to what's been going on around housing in general. I personally have been saying, or explicitly and implicitly, this is my feeling. I think there's been a lot of white privilege coming out around this housing issue. I don't know if you guys are feeling the same way.
Mhm.
I don't think people are talking about it. I think it's gross. And it has informed a lot of the conversation that's been happening here. So I think that it's a conversation that I think that we could potentially have without weighing in on the politics of it. But I have very strong feelings, and I'm assuming that some of us in this room also have strong feelings about municipal restrictive zoning and what that means with regards to classism, racism, segregation, lack of opportunity, you know, all of these things that sort of revolve around this issue that we have not been talking about. And I think that a lot of people don't really understand how all of that is connected. So, you know, that conversation is we're gonna be talking about it a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that as an advocacy group, and you guys saw that email I sent to town council and I haven't heard back. We are an advocacy group. Housing is a human right, and I do feel like that is within our purview
Yeah.
to advocate for housing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if it's something that you guys are interested in, maybe we can talk about, you know, some sort of education or
Yeah.
program
Mhm.
or a lecture series or something, even just a speaker.
Yeah.
To come in and talk about what does that mean and why haven't we talked about this over the past
Yeah.
8 weeks?
Yeah.
And, you know, what does that look like? How do you put the pieces together? Because I don't necessarily think that people are, have been, as I said, there's some people have been very explicit about it. I mean, I've seen some things that have
Oh,
been
yeah.
really
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
But also implicitly, you know, I don't think necessarily people are putting the pieces together.
Mhm.
So I think it would be good to have that conversation, to have that perspective, because, you know, it's not something that we've been talking about, because I think people are afraid to say that this, you know, racism
This exists.
and
Call it-
classism
call it
has,
what it is.
yeah,
That's
it's been
right.
involved
Yeah.
in some decision-making and some sort of, what your idea of housing and zoning
Yeah,
is.
and I imagine a lot of us in this room have gotten a lot of calls and, I mean, I've gotten a lot of calls from people who are in pieces about decisions that have been made, and I think if we can't come together as a group and support housing in some substantial way that we can try to make a dent, at least for when residents in town come to us and they are feeling pressure and disappointment. And so I think that there's something that we should be doing. And I'm not sure, you put it in much more eloquently than I could, Tina.
I just, you know.
But like, I think
another perspective,
trying to
I
do
think
something.
It's another,
Like, who would you get to speak about this?
I don't know, because I'm
I-
just so
I have a few people in mind.
angry right now, but it's just.
We had this,
There's
We did
abundant
have something
housing.
on
we
that.
had that program, the history of discrimination in
Yes.
housing.
It was
And
community stuff.
yeah, it was at the, no, it was Needham Housing.
Needham Housing, I think I went to that
And
one.
yeah, we were one of the sponsors of
Yeah.
that. It was at the Center at the Heights.
Right.
And they had, you know, the projected things of what was the different zones in town, and then, Jeannie McKnight presented some things from the research she did of
Right.
actual closed covenant things on different deeds that people had. So people did seem.
redlining
and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but to bring it right into Needham, and so people seem to be open to hearing that as a historical thing. So that could be a
Open.
place to start.
Is that preaching to the choir, or is it preaching to the people we need to be listening to?
Well, that's always
That
hard,
always happens when we have
but that
programs.
doesn't mean not to do the
Yeah.
program.
We did something that was a student-led,
But that was,
Discussion.
that was a
Yeah.
conversation.
so that was, but I think that had zoning talks in there too, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's
Oh, we
certainly housing,
definitely did have.
in
that part of it.
Massachusetts, many housing groups, many housing advocacy groups that I'm sure would love to come and try to educate and,
So here's, for an example, my daughter, they were talking about the housing issue in one of her math class, one of my kids. And, one of her classmates, their parents voted no. And, he said to her, well, if those people can't afford to live here, then they need to go back to Africa where they came from.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh,
Now, this is.
But how
a
many people have
16-year-old.
that? Yeah.
right,
Is
That's what they hear, because
I guess that's-
public though, in public and school.
at least the 16-year-old said it, I suppose.
Right, so it's,
Should be
and
here
this
at
is
home.
not the only, I
Right.
have heard.
Yeah. It's not been a
Came
great
home
time.
very upset about this.
I bet.
Of course.
yesterday. So I, these are the types of conversations that I feel like we need to
Yeah.
have. Again, it's about equity.
Agreed.
I don't, you know, we don't need to get into the weeds about
Yeah.
Needham and the communities, that all of the politics around it. But I do think that having a conversation about what restrictive zoning and housing is and means, and what are the consequences of that.
Mhm.
I think that that is something that we should really focus on.
Absolutely.
I also,
That's-
what about what it means to live in a diverse community? In every way.
Mhm.
and
And
how
to
it
me-
enriches the community.
And,
Right.
right, well,
Yep,
that's,
exactly, Bud.
and to me, rather than having a housing group sponsor, but if the Human Rights Committee sponsors it.
From a different,
From a different, I mean, when I came in early, I told these guys, my grandson voted before I went back to college, and he called me today, and I said, did you hear about the vote? And he said, no, and I told him, he said, well, I'm sorry, those stupid people in Needham just don't want poor people living in their town. And I mean, maybe he's a Needham high grad, and he's right, NIMBY, not in my backyard, people, they just, I don't know how we break it down for people, and I think we would probably be preaching to the choir, but we usually are preaching to the choir, but I still think it's our responsibility
It
and
is.
duty to
Yeah.
do it.
we have to start
We
somewhere.
have,
Yeah, we have to get the
we have to get the word out,
support,
and now we know we have money if we need to pay a speaker,
that's right.
so.
Yeah, exactly. We can put a
And
program
I
on.
think of when they have the list of people that they wanted to have be on Human Rights Committee, a realtor was one of them. And that, it might be interesting to look for somebody who has an open mind.
That's
about
who
this kind
Maria
of-
is, she's
Yeah.
a realtor.
Yeah. Yeah, and she was a house,
And
she's a
to-
housing advocate, if I remember.
And to
Sure,
have
sure
that
mentioning that.
perspective. I always
I
think
think
back,
it's an
Yeah,
important role
she's
that
been a
we
realtor
play.
for 30 years.
I think back to the neighborhood we're in used to have all affordable homes until people started tearing them down and building $2 million homes. But when we first came there, we bought our home from a person who's of Philippines descent. And neighbor down the street who was Puerto Rican was the one who welcomed us the most. And as time went by, there are more and more people who have diverse backgrounds. And I think that, you see somebody looks at houses and, well, first of all, they're more affordable, but they look at the neighborhood and their kids running in the street who look different and aren't all white. And so there's like 25% or so of people in our immediate neighborhood who are not the usual predominantly white folks that you see in Needham. And it's a very nice neighborhood. We have block parties, people look out after each other. And actually, the people who come into the expensive homes are pretty nice too. So I don't know how you establish a culture.
You mean there's some nice rich people?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to
I'm
be.
sorry, I just.
So one shouldn't assume that all the people in little houses are open and welcoming and all the people in big houses.
No,
are.
exactly right.
Yeah.
It unfortunately, it's not as clear as that, and it's
But it
somewhere in the
always,
middle, but.
it always struck me about how this, and I'm sure there are lots of other neighborhoods in town that are quite diverse.
So how do you want to proceed?
I don't know, I just wanted to throw it out there, just see
Yep.
how you guys are feeling about it and see what that means and what that may look like.
I mean, is it something
Without
that
sort
we,
of getting into the politics.
we
of
want to do
Needham.
it before the May town
I think it
meeting?
would be great to
Oh,
have.
definitely.
yeah.
when the May town
Before
meeting.
town
What if we
meeting
took
is-
the lens, like people, again, understanding history is certainly important. But I think that people bristle at the idea that they should atone for sins of the past.
Yes.
And like thinking about it in terms of an opportunity, for systemic change that we had with the MBTA Communities
Mhm.
Act. And so it's like, it's not making up for something that happened in the past, it's changing what's happening now.
Right.
And what our obligations
Looking
are.
ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
Try to do
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, opportunities for the future.
People who work in
Diversify our
town to be able to
community
live
in
here.
every way. Okay, I think that'd be great. I'm all in favor.
So at the very least, I think it's good that we
It's
think about
food
it
for
and,
thought.
yeah, exactly, and then
Next
maybe
time, yeah.
we can plan on putting something on the agenda for the next meeting, just to at least maybe
Hey,
start to
brain-
work on, like, to pan some of these things
brainstorm
out,
some
yeah.
ideas.
Cause I think there is I think there's work to do, and I
Yeah.
think it's our role to do this work, and.
Yep.
I mean,
Definitely.
find a better cost, it's hard to find a better one than.
Yep.
Helping people with housing, I think.
So can I just ask, just out of curiosity, because I thought at the last meeting that we were, I don't know, walked away thinking like, we, the Human Rights Committee, wasn't supposed
This
to
is a
talk
good
about
question.
this.
We
Well, I
couldn't
think
get involved.
We were
with the
told
side
The
of
vote.
The vote.
Now that that's
This is an
over,
issue.
we're
Talk about
discussing housing, which is totally in
This is an
our.
educational
Right, Taylor?
component.
Yeah, I think it was because we're appointed that we're not allowed to discuss, take a side on a vote, on a townwide
On a
vote.
referendum.
That's right.
I
Yeah, you
publicly
cannot
have to ask
make
committee,
a
we're not supposed
Because
to.
we're
committee
not a committee,
statement.
yeah.
That's
one way
right,
or
yes,
another.
sorry, thank you, Jill, that's what I meant, exactly right, yes, yeah, as individuals, we could speak, but we couldn't
Right.
speak on behalf of.
Yeah.
Human rights.
So we can
Committee.
have an educational
now that-
program on people's rights.
Well, and I think now that the
Housing.
vote is over, I think it's,
No, it has nothing to do with the vote. Now.
That's
we're
right.
discussing Housing and.
exactly,
Yes.
now it's back to.
Human rights.
This isn't,
Well, we should have been right.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think we did, I think at some point we did take a vote
We
and,
did.
yeah, we
Yeah,
came out
before
in
we got-
support of, it was before the referendum got kicked off, but.
It was a vote that said we were in favor of affordable housing and.
Well, I think it was
And
specific,
opposed to things that are gonna keep the funding from flowing to things
Yeah.
like the,
Yes.
housing authority buildings that need.
yeah, I think it was
Reform,
specific to the Needham Housing Plan at the time,
Yeah.
because it was
Yeah.
before May town meeting.
Yeah, and we were gonna write a statement too, but. But then we were
Okay,
told not.
so we
Yeah,
have to
that's
do it. Do it.
Exactly, time out,
Okay.
that's right.
So maybe this will actually be better.
Well, that's right, yeah, I mean, I think that. I think that this is well within our purview and I can't think of, I can think of other. Equally important causes, but this seems like a real big one, and so I think. Whatever we can do to make sure that our policy as a human rights committee is clear on where we stand with housing.
Yes.
And whatever we can do to pan that out, the problem is not going away.
Yep.
Not anytime soon, so, yeah, it's work to be done.
Wonder,
And food insecurity.
Absolutely, yes, yeah, exactly, 3 pillars, agreed.
I wonder, I know, I don't know, I think we should do it sooner rather than later, because I
Yeah.
think the closer we get to that May meeting, the more,
That's right.
Yeah,
Good
you're
point.
right.
the more we might get a
Agreed.
message that we can't do anything
That's
again, so.
Yeah,
But
but
I
certainly,
think it's gonna be a long conversation, so I think if we all brainstorm
Yep.
in between now and the next meeting, we can put it on the next meeting's agenda.
yeah, to discuss it.
And everybody come with ideas.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Great.
Great, thank you.
Can I make another suggestion? If we have next to the dates, if we could get people to sign up to be reporters, or have they already
Yes,
done
we
it?
don't have to do that in the meeting, I can send that out.
Okay, sometimes we've done it in the meeting, which got it done, it's over, but however.
I moved to adjourn.
Second,
Okay.
second.
Wait a minute, give her a chance to.
Discussion.
No, I'm letting Dave empty.
Getting close.
Were you ready?
Anyone have anything else?
Discussion.
We had at one point said we were gonna do another, book discussion for the library. She may have given up on us at this point, I'm not sure,
I
but
thought we had names of books and
I
everything.
think I
did
actually
have a-
gave them a book.
we did give them a book, but I don't think we ever
Yeah.
gave them a date.
Well, I thought you were waiting to hear back from them.
I gave them a book and then I believe maybe
No, I
she
think we did
left.
to them.
Who are you working with?
I can't remember.
I think it was Gay, Gail, isn't that?
Is she
her
still
name?
there?
Friends of
Yeah, she was last.
Freedom Library, right?
I just think if we wanted to try to put that back on the agenda to plan.
I'll follow up with her because I was the one who
Okay.
contacted her.
Is there any book that would relate to housing?
Hmm.
Mhm.
I'm sure there are lots.
Oh, there are, for sure. Isn't there a book called the color of housing?
The color of law.
The color of law.
Yeah.
They already did that as
Yeah.
part of a consortium thing with different libraries.
Yeah, I think
Richard, what's
I
his
heard
name?
him speak.
I did hear him speak at
Yeah.
Wellesley, I think,
That's what it was.
Yeah.
a couple of years ago.
But usually they get
That one?
things, don't they usually get things that are like fiction or novels instead of a non?
I think you could do it.
We've done either,
One,
yeah, we've done
Yeah,
both.
we've done some.
Yep.
Fiction.
Okay, so that will add to the February agenda.
We could also look at the Massachusetts Human Rights Group about what they've done on housing, if anybody
It's a good idea.
has done this kind of in-depth.
I can reach out to them.
Second.
Okay.
No, gosh.
Still
Now you
going, so
ready?
second.
Okay, so yes, I moved to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
There we go. Nice job.
No one's opposed?
You can keep going.